This is the Storyworks Roundtable, where we have conversations about craft. Because becoming a successful author begins with writing a great story. Hey there, Storyworks writers. Today we are back with Jennifer Bowen Hicks in the second part of our in-depth conversation about the Minnesota Prison Writing Workshop. If you haven't heard part one, make sure you go back and check out last week's episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share a rating and a review. Yeah.
Have you ever had tears in your fiction classes?
You know, I haven't had tears per se, but I'm going through my memory trying to think. No tears, but definitely people have fictionalized things that touch on their own history. Sure. And I might guess it but not know it, and then somebody else in the class brings it up in the discussion, or somehow it kind of it's confirmed. And it's interesting to see those explorations of the personal through the fictional, and how without going there explicitly, the guys are still going there in that very supportive manner. And it almost feels to me like what happens in that room stays in that room. And I don't really know anything about prison culture outside of these classrooms, but my guess, my assumption is that there's a lot more posturing, a lot more defensiveness, a lot more just lack of safety, you know? And so the classroom feels special. Yeah. You know, just very wow.
Absolutely.
And something I think all of us writers need a space like that to take emotional risks in our work, no matter where we are. And so to see it in kind of the least expected place of all is, you know, potent.
Yeah, I agree. We definitely hear students say that on their evaluations or just informally, and oftentimes they'll write a thank you card perhaps, and they definitely say stuff like, you know, when I'm here, I forget that I'm in prison, or this is the only place that I can be real, or I can be myself. So yeah, I think we've definitely heard people say what it, you know, articulate that what we're experiencing is real for them too. So
yes. Yeah. I'm looking at Kathryn, but she probably can't tell that through Skype.
I can tell. I can tell.
You can tell. Yeah. Good. You're used to it.
I know. I'm used to it. I do actually have a question. I don't know if this is too off topic though, so feel free to redirect if necessary. But do you have any tips for forming a community like that around, like, because not all of us have, you know, the MPWW or other, you know, situations where we can participate even from like a teacher level in that sort of a community. Like, do you have any tips for how to form a supportive writers community like that?
Sure. You mean just in the community with
and just
regular writers? Yeah, for sure. Well, I will tell you, what I see my students do is just invite, and accept. And so, reach out. They are careful, I will say that. They don't invite people who are, you know, going to cause the program to shut down. And I asked them how they know that. And they said, someone told me once, if someone's a knucklehead on the block, he's going to be a knucklehead in the class, for what that's worth. But beyond that sort of screening, they're so open. They invite people to everything. And then once they're there, they're just sort of open, like everyone's on their own journey, and we're going to support each other where we're at. And so I would say maybe a lack of exclusivity, which surprises me and wouldn't have been my advice before working in prison. I might have thought, you know, find people who work in your genre, or find folks who are writing at a similar level to you. And my experience in the communities that we work in is it's magical, just wide-ranging community and meeting people where they're at.
Yeah. That's an interesting idea to bring to the outside, to a general, you know, writers collective, and say, be inclusive, meet people where they're at. It makes me wonder how well it would work, you know, is everybody going to be open and receptive and supportive lesson we can all learn, right?
Well, and I think part of it too, though, is you guys have a structure, like a serious structure to what's going on in classes, and then also like for lack of a better term, it's a supervised meeting between writers, right? So you have a facilitator. Not all writing groups have somebody who's there kind of as a facilitator, right?
That's true.
So that's an interesting difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A friend of mine out in Vermont, Robin MacArthur, is a novelist who started her own writing community on the outside because she's in a small rural community and she's just craving, more time with artists. She calls it Word Cafe, and I'm sure if you Google it, she's got something online. But she's sort of implementing some structure like that, Kathryn, where every so often there's a talk on a given subject, and then there's an open writing session. So yeah, her space is a lot more gorgeous than the space we're working in. But yeah, I think you're probably right to suggest structure as something that would help a lot of sort of varied ability levels come together in a cohesive way. Makes sense.
Yeah. So Kathryn, you'll have to be that facilitator and provide that structure.
Know, right? Hold on, I just gotta put one more hat on my head, and then I'll be good to go.
Yeah, you need more things to do. So how has the Department of Corrections, the DOC, responded to the program over these 8, almost 9 years, and what changes have you seen maybe in attitude toward the program, receptivity, Yeah.
Well, obviously, when we first started, there was a lot of caution. There was a lot more oversight in, not that there's still plenty of oversight, but I would say much more so sort of on the classroom level and with the mentor packets. They just didn't know what to expect, even though they were supportive and opening doors for us. There was definitely caution. And I think as we've been around and we've proven ourselves to be trustworthy, they understand what the program looks like and what it means for us to bring in books and, that sort of thing. Every time there is change, every time the staff changes, the rules and the tone can change, and that can start at the top, but it can even be within each facility. So it really is such a nimble job trying to sort of take the pulse in every single facility every time there's a job change. It's easier to characterize it that way than sort of chronologically.
Sure.
And so on the wide-ranging scale, I would say we have overall really good support, and the more that people see our students publishing and writing successfully and being recognized even nationally by organizations like Prison Writing Org and or PEN America, I'm sorry. Students whose work is showing up or whose quotes are showing up in Lit Hub and whose books are, Minnesota Book Award finalists. I think they certainly come to respect the seriousness of the writers and the program. And I think with just a few exceptions, most of the Department of Corrections really admires the actual work our students are doing.
Right.
They bring our literary journals that the students contribute to around and are proud of the work that they're doing and recognize them as pretty serious students. So yeah.
I've certainly felt that there's been an opening of possibilities and a lessening of restriction in the years that I've been involved with MPWW, and it's nice being on this side of the changes. At the beginning, working with my mentee, I had to use a pseudonym and hide my identity for my own safety. And that was a DOC regulation. But there came a point, and Mark and I have been working together for 7 years, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what he just wrote in his last letter, and we're officially ending now. I just have to get that final letter out and we'll be done. But
it's a huge commitment.
It is. But, at some point I started to feel kind of disingenuous because I was giving him writing advice and I wanted to say from this perspective or from this experience, but to do so would have reveal to myself. And at some point, the DOC said, okay, I remember I asked you, can I tell him my name? Can I just, and got the go ahead. And so, it feels like a tribute to the work MPWW does to see those restrictions lessening over the years. It feels like a sign of trust and recognition there. Now, I think we need to acknowledge how involved the community is here. You mentioned a Minnesota Book Award finalist, guest artists coming into the facilities, students being published in literary journals. I know MPWW has broadsides that are printed every year, and they're beautiful art in their own right. And then what other kind of community partners are involved? And let's just cover that a little.
Yeah, well, I mean, Minneapolis, for those of you that are listening and don't live here, we live in utopia. It's really, I'm sorry, Kathryn, but it is just an amazing community of artists, activists, and they just don't say no, and they totally get the work. Like, you don't have to tell them why it's important. They already get it, and this community has rallied around us and continues to. So Hamline University is a tremendous source of support. They help facilitate the mentor program. They let us have a physical mailing address there and an office space. They donate room, a beautiful space for our annual reading. And they support us in a lot of other ways too. They're just always willing to help out. The independent publishers in the Twin Cities, Grey Wolf, Coffee House, and Milkweed, couldn't be bigger supporters of the work we do. They donate books all the time. They donate them to the libraries, to particular classes. They just don't say no to us. We try not to abuse it, but likewise, they will bring, when we invite those editors to come into the classrooms and talk to our student editors, they always are willing to come in. They've done interviews for students. They just show up in all sorts of ways. And you feel bad asking a nonprofit to help a nonprofit. It's a slog, but they all do. The indie bookstores in town, we have 1 billion. Again, y'all.
Come to Minneapolis.
They're so great. Actually, we're all full.
Sorry. Yep.
Just don't stay for good. The indie bookstores are incredible. They let us host these bubblegum machines, that carry little poems inside the capsules. And that's a fundraising thing that we do. They allow us to give 10 and 20% donations to people who are sustaining donors to our program. They let us hang out, have meetings. They're just, we have a spring party at them. Moon Palace, Milkweed, Subtext especially are all just bookstores who pull a lot of weight for us. And maybe more than all of those are the writers from the outside who come in to teach, like yourself, and also who come in to read in the reading series and in classes. The Stillwater Writers Collective has hosted an inside-outside reading series now for 2 years. This October 18th will be the second anniversary of that series, where we bring about 5 writers from the community in to read in the facility alongside the Stillwater writers. And that series is my all-time favorite. Nothing will ever top it. It's just incredible to have people read and share the work, all these different levels, different concerns. My dog wants out, can you tell?
Yes, I see the jumping.
It's also playtime. This is his playtime.
All right.
So those writers sort of blow me away because, as you know, Alida, for us, for a reading, we're locked into the facility from 6 to 8:30 because we follow their movement block. But to get to that facility and to get through, we leave the metro area at 4:30. So they essentially give up an evening from around 4 o'clock by the time we meet up to 9 o'clock to be part of a reading at which they'll read for 5 minutes. And I compiled a list for an instructor of ours, Sue Wong, who does such an amazing job of finding good writers to come out.
Hang on, you just broke up a bit.
I think it was
Jen?
Writers Strong.
Hang on, you broke up for a second.
Yeah.
So you were just saying for Sue Wong so can you kind of pick up there?
You bet. So Sue is this local poet whose book actually comes out tomorrow, day after tomorrow, Bodega. But she's got a knack for finding writers to come in and read, and they just don't tell Sue no. And in the last 2 years, we've brought out 50 writers.
Wow.
To Stillwater, approximately 50. And I mean, writers that anybody in their right mind across the nation would be really excited to come and hear read. They come out and share that space. And then after that, they're invested in our students. They follow their work. They actually care what happens. So it feels like in many ways, we have a large MPWW community that really does bridge the wall in a way that's so unusual and really thrilling for our students who now have met some of their poetry heroes and they're, hearing new work that they love, and they're watching people perform. And I think the writers that come in are learning from our students too. So, we're really, really lucky to have the support of this community.
Mm-hmm. That is an impressive list of supporters there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to pause here. How are you doing on time, Jen? Because I want to make sure that we say something about the fundraising before you have to run away.
Yeah, I'm good. I've got about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
If you can tolerate the dog.
Yeah. Kathryn, do you have anything that you want to
No, I mean, you
add or ask?
kind of have me as at a disadvantage since I don't participate in or have anything like this in my area or anything like that. So. It's just fascinating. It makes me envious is what it does.
Are you in Australia, Kathryn?
No, I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, okay. Well, come see us. There's Lighthouse,
yeah,
right?
You should.
Lighthouse in Seattle?
I'm far
that's
from,
maybe Denver.
I'm only a couple hours from Seattle, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you could come visit, Kathryn. I've got a hide-a-bed in my couch, so you could actually come visit here.
Come to the reading.
Yes. So Jen, what sort of misconceptions about people in the prison system do you encounter, and do you find people outside of the writing community object to this sort of programming? Do you have to dispel misconceptions often?
A lot less than I would have expected. And it might be that I just need to be outside my bubble a little more often. But no, I think by and large, people are confused. I think many assume that I'm in a dangerous position or that I'm very brave or very beneficent. So that's a common misconception. I feel safe. I feel really privileged to be doing it. I feel like it's the old teaching cliche, but I definitely feel like I gain more from our students than they gain from my classes. Absolutely. Those are pretty common misconceptions, but it's very rare to find somebody who thinks that, I know that those people exist, but they keep it to themselves, I guess, around me or on our social media. That sort of attitude that they're being punished. Why are we providing anything for them? It could be that the discourse is changing nationally, and we understand that punishment doesn't need to negate growth and investment in individuals, 95% of whom get out. It just might be that that the narrative has shifted, and that's why we don't hear it. But it's not often that we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
How about you? Do you experience that?
No, I find people are really curious about what it's like and what am I doing, and more so than why, it's the what. How does it work? How do you get in there? What are the students like? Are you scared? Do you feel safe?
Right.
I suppose it's my mother's job to worry about me, so she's the one who says, "Be careful. Did you hear this thing in the news? Are you what?"
Okay.
Know. It's like,
tell your mom you are so much safer there than at a regular public high school.
Yeah.
I would imagine. For real. I'm dead serious.
Yes. I don't doubt it.
One tension I do experience more and more, surprisingly, comes actually from the activist community, who sometimes wants to know what we're doing to change things structurally. I think that they worry that we're perhaps not helping efforts of decarcerating. I understand where they're coming from. But I also understand, as you do, there's a Mark inside, and there's, Zeke and Elizabeth, and these are people who are going to be there. And it doesn't always make sense to, it's just a tension. So decarcerating is an admirable goal, but,
so define decarcerating for anyone who's not familiar with that word.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it can look a lot of different ways, but certainly I think people would advocate, and I'm among them, for, treatment for substance abuse, for instance, instead of drugs. If a woman is pregnant, I think people might argue that it's not in the best interest of the baby or society for her to be locked up, give birth to the baby, and have the baby go away. So alternatives to punishment where that's viable, certainly. Right. Shorter sentences. There are lots of different ways that can look, but I would say more than tension about why we're there from people who don't think that the students we work with deserve it, are people who are concerned that we're making prisons stronger through the work, or at least making them look, how do I say this, that we're helping them justify that the work that they're doing is rehabilitative when it's also traumatic and devastating. And I agree with them that it is, but I also know that there needs to be something positive within that framework, and it's something that MPWW is just really good at providing. So it's a tension, but that's where I find myself having to explain more often than not.
Right. And the impact MPWW has on the students there, I think, is profound. And it might not be changing the system, and really, how could we, I would ask, but the individuals who learn and grow, they're going to be different people as a result, just like we all change through our life experiences and our educations, our relationships, our mentoring, our, all those things. Just because they're inside doesn't mean they shouldn't have that or wouldn't benefit in the same way we would. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I even argue to some extent, I think for people who feel like art can activate change, it's not necessarily quick. It's not the governor, reducing 40 years off of a person's sentence. But I do believe art can make change. And I think that when the artists themselves are the change makers, that's doubly powerful, right? Not only does it give the writers that we work with a voice, but suddenly they're in charge of their own agency. And if that's not a powerful tool to give them to make change, I don't know what is. And who better to speak about the, perils of the carceral state than the men and women who have experienced it. So I think they've got quite a mighty sword with their, with their pen. And I think change is slow, but I think that the change is going to come from them. And so it's a humble thing. We don't get to knock it all down, but I think they're becoming well equipped to make change through their words. So,
yeah, that's powerful. So what does MPWW need, if anything? But I'm sure there's always something, right, in terms of support and involvement. And how could some of our listeners or all of our listeners who don't live in the Twin Cities help MPWW?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I mean, obviously nonprofits need money to run, and we spend a lot of energy writing grants and soliciting donations, and that's just a really easy way to support us, and we make really good use of that money. So we don't have physical office space. We work from home offices to keep costs down, and we are a really lean machine. We work with very little, and we rely on the beneficence of our teachers like you and mentors to do the work for little or nothing. Those teachers drive long distances and give up an entire day. So it's helpful to have a little extra money for gas when we're able to do that. Like your trek up north, for instance, Alida, you guys? You want to tell people how long you drove?
Oh, God, that was, that was a nightmare. Driving from South Minneapolis to Moose Lake, Minnesota, I had to leave no later than 2:30 to arrive, no later than 2 to arrive by 5 in order to start teaching a class from 5:30 to 8:30. And it wasn't quite so bad on the way home because traffic was gone, but it was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a haul to get out there. So donations help. Obviously, they help us run classes. They help us with books. But they also, the more that we have, the more we can offer people a little bit of a stipend for their gas. So donations are great. Our fundraiser starts, when did I tell you it started? On the 19th, I guess, of this month.
Right.
And we definitely rely on individual donations. We've been taught by the nonprofit gurus of the world that individual donations provide stability. And that's critically important for us because we work with a vulnerable population who is used to programming going away. And so our primary goal has always been to do good work and to stick around.
Right.
And what we understand about sticking around is that individual donations are the most stable form of funding above grants and foundations and all that stuff. So we love our individual donors and we need them. And we're hoping to raise $30,000 between the October 19th and somewhere in the middle of November. So yes, we would take that. Any amount would be super helpful.
And that $30,000 is going to fund teachers in the prison. As you said, MPWW is very lean. Home offices, there's not a ton of overhead here, so people don't have to worry about bureaucracy and things like that when making a donation. Now, where can people find MPWW and that donation button?
You bet. So if you go to mnprisonwriting.org/donate, there's a donation button there. You can make a one-time donation, or you can become a sustaining donor, and that comes with some discounts on books and that sort of thing, and also the occasional tote bag and our undying love. And we work with
handwritten thank you notes as well. There is a call going out to all of the teachers, everybody involved with MPWW, to get ready to start our thank you note season.
It's intense, that handwriting stuff. But we will get those beautiful handwritten notes out to you, and if yours is not legible, that means you got one from me. And for folks who are local, it's a lot of fun for you to come to our annual reading, which happens on October 19th at Hamline University in the Class Center. That's at 7:00. The audience is usually around 300, 350 strong, and we read work on behalf of students. And then the audience has the opportunity to write feedback for the students, and we pass that feedback along to the students. And to tell you how meaningful it is, one of our students walked into his cell one day after it had been delivered, and he saw the stack sitting there, and he sighed because the stack was so big. He thought, oh no, they sent me everyone's. I'm going to have to sort all this. They got it wrong. But it was all for him, and well-deserved, because the essay he wrote was incredible. But he rationed the feedback so that he read only one card a day.
Oh, wow.
So that it could last until Christmas. And this is a man who has no family in the country. And the notes that the audience left for him meant that much to him, and we hear that time and again. So just showing up and listening, if you don't have the funds to support us, is an incredible way to support the writers. They read every single card and they treasure them, and they send them home, like as we all would, right, to brag to mom. So if you don't have $50 to pitch in, or $20 or 10,000 or whatever your giving level is, show up if you're in the area and listen, and send some feedback to the students. That means everything to them.
Yes, and if you are able to come to the reading, you will be impressed. You will be wowed by the quality of the writing and the readings. The student pieces are read by teachers, mentors, sometimes a family member or a friend. And I believe you've had some students who are now on the outside who've been able to come and read their own work.
Yeah, we'll have 3 former students there reading. All 3 of them rock stars. One's flying in from Washington. She's probably your neighbor, Kathryn. So I'm very, very excited about the former students giving readings. They're writers in the world now, and really good ones. And so it's going to be really fun to let them take some time at the mic.
Yes. All right. So the events will all be listed on the website, mnprisonwriting.org, and people can donate there, mnprisonwriting.org/donate. And we will, of course, have links in our show notes at storyworkspodcast.com. Sorry, now my dog is voicing that it's dinner time. Is there anything you would like to add, Jen? Anything you want our listeners to know about the work?
If I could really quickly,
yes.
We have a new partnership through We Are All Criminals, and it's called SEEN, capital SEEN. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful shift for us in that the Department of Corrections has allowed our students to be photographed and allowed their work to be shared widely. And so Emily Baxter, who is the executive director of We Are All Criminals, has just done an incredible job of getting to know these writers and helping put their stories out in a way that's both visual and really respectful. And it's just a real honor to have those words and faces captured in a way that's beautiful and celebrates them as people and celebrates them as artists. And that is, that project's just beginning, but it's definitely going to be something people in Minnesota see a lot of. And I think nationally at some point it will make its way around the world. So that is at weareallcriminals.org/scene. And so some of the writers we've talked about today are featured there or will soon be featured there. And you can check in on them over time. I think their stories will expand to include family members. So it definitely gives a unique look at sort of the complexity of all of us and those behind bars whose complexity is often a little bit reduced or a lot reduced. So that's another cool site to check out for anybody who's interested.
It is. That's a really exciting and interesting project. And we will put that link in the show notes as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you, Jen. It's been wonderful having you here. And
it's been great.
Thank you for listening to the StoryWorks Roundtable. Find all our shows, show notes, and videos at storyworkspodcast.com.